Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Happiness Retreat. I am your host, Kimberly Trebs, and today we have the good fortune to be in conversation with my dear friend and colleague, the beautiful and multi-talented Barbara Murphy-Shannon, who is a breakthrough business coach with a very unique angle on branding. And this branding, by the way, can be personal or business. Hello, Barbara, and thank you so much for taking your time today to speak with us.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to, do the show today with you. And I'm excited to talk about branding, of course, and archetypes because I just love
it. Yes. And yeah, I'm super excited about this one because, spoiler alert, I've had my archetypes identified. And wow, so fun, so informative. So back to business. Okay. As this conversation is all about spirituality and the soul and becoming the master of your own energy, I'm so happy you are here to share with us how you became interested in archetypes and how knowing which archetypes you are is a vehicle for transformation for your business and personal life. So, Barbara, can you please begin today with a little bit about your background, your education, and what prompted you to be interested in branding with archetypes?
Sure. So I'm a breakthrough business coach. I'm a certified breakthrough business coach. And actually through that program, which was a year program, is where I learned about archetypes. But even more so, I have a master's in psychology, and archetypes are all based on psychology. So having those two come together really just solidified the excitement I got about branding with archetypes. And I work with mostly business clients, and they love them. And when you take your assessment and realize your archetype, it just gives you such clarity, and it just takes all the confusion away. And we'll talk more about that so you'll understand what I'm talking about. I also do growth strategy for my clients. I work mostly with women, but I do have some male clients, the lucky ones. And I'm originally from Boston, so I always say I speak two languages, so you might hear the old Boston accent come out, and there you have it. But now I live in Arizona. I live in Fountain Hills with my husband and my dog named Jessie, who's a golden doodle. And I met Kimberly through a mutual friend as well in the meditation world.
Yeah, the amazing Sarah McLean, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Right.
So, yeah. I love how psychology, I didn't really think about that, how psychology plays into this as well. Yeah, I'm getting much.
It was Carl Jung actually who coined the term archetypes, and he's a famous psychiatrist. And it's interesting because he feels that you're born with your archetype. Like a lot of people believe that you're born with a clean slate. He does not. He believes this is primordial, that it's come from your ancestors, this archetype that you are. So it has a huge impact on me because of the psychology part of it, so it makes perfect sense. I'm like, oh, I get this. It's not like someone asked me one day, is it like astrology? And I'm like, no, not really. I think that's two different things. And I like astrology, but
yeah, definitely are a little bit different. So
yeah.
Can you explain then what are archetypes and where do they come from?
Sure. So again, they were coined by Carl Jung, and his philosophy is it's the unconscious brain. And again, they're already in you. It's not something that you learn through experience. This is a character. And if you think about archetypes are all around us. They're in stories. They're brands of products that you buy. So like I'm a sage, and we'll explain a little bit more about that means, but basically a sage is someone that is a learner, loves to learn, and they love to research things. They want to know facts. So a brand that is a sage is Deepak Chopra, Oprah, TED Talks. So a lot of times when we talk about archetypes, people can really understand it more when I talk about the brands that are archetypes. So the archetype that's the jester, that's a Steve Martin. I mean, it just meant, once you know the 12, and I work with 12 archetypes, they become very clear on who they are. And then you will start to, once you understand them, it's really fun. It's like, I'll talk to somebody, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, she's a sage. I can hear her. She's a sage. But, and then how it, relates to branding is, branding is a promise of an experience. And again, going back to those brands I just mentioned, Deepak Chopra, Oprah, TED Talks, what kind of experience you're going to get. You're going to learn something. You're going to walk away with something. That's a sage. And so having a brand that you can promise an experience, utilizing the archetypes helps you bring that together. So it takes confusion away for lots of my clients. So if they're a sage, they're not going to act like a Steve Martin in their copy and their content and on their website and with their clients. They know that what they're going to be, their zone of genius, say, is going to be teaching their clients. It's going to be helping them, find the answers to their questions. So did that answer your question okay?
Yeah, no, you did. And so you've talked about it on the business side, big brand name companies. Now, Steve Martin is a person. So can you elaborate a little bit more on the personal side? Because I'm wondering, what if someone's a writer, or even how they express themselves? Would this type of archetypal knowledge help with even just creating content?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, you can do it could be personal or business. I mean, even if you don't have a business, you still have a brand. I mean, we all have personal brands, whether I have created it or it just is. If you think about a friend or somebody, like, oh, she's the funny one. Oh, she's the one I'll call when I need somebody to help me figure out something. So everybody already has this archetype and this personal branding, whether they work on it or not. And yeah, so think about Steve Martin, that's a person. Tom Hanks is an innocent. So you can utilize discovering your archetypes and use that for your personal brand or for your company. The difference will be with when you use it for your company, if you're the image of your brand, then of course that's super easy. You just, that's your archetype. If your brand, say, is Coca-Cola, it doesn't mean, well, I don't even know who owns Coca-Cola, but it doesn't mean the owner is, and Coca-Cola is I believe, a hero. Okay. It doesn't mean that the person that owns that company is a hero, but the brand is a hero. So yeah, so that's the promise. So like when you drink a Coca-Cola, it's going to be in this type of packaging, what the color is going to be, when you taste it, what it's going to taste like. If it was totally like, if you tasted orange, you'd be like, this isn't a Coke.
Right.
This is a totally different brand, right? And so that's what happens a lot with us, with our personal brand or with our business brand. When you stay true to your archetypes, then you're consistent. And a confused mind always says no. So if you do have a company, you're trying to get clients, you're trying to get people to buy your product or service, consistency is key. And so the archetypes really help that, because with the archetypes assessment that I offer, and your wonderful people that are going to be watching this, they all get a free archetype assessment if they'd like. Not only will you just know what you are, but you also get information on how to use those archetypes for your personal or your business branding, based on copy and content and website writing. Like you said, a writer. Sure, a writer has to have a voice. And if you think about the authors that you follow, they're all different archetypes. Does that make sense?
It does. So now I'm thinking, so, my day job is engineering. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about the people that I work with now that you're mentioning all these different archetypes, right? And I think even in everyday life, when you're in a room with several different people, as you mentioned, you could kind of see what their personality traits are, which is the only way I knew how to language it before. Mm-hmm. And, you can say, he's a funny guy. Oh, he's a grumpy guy. Oh, he's a guy that knows everything. She, whatever.
Right.
But, so do we have a minute just to hear what the 12 archetypes are, so that we can put
Sure.
more of this, for
Yeah.
me, wrap my
Yeah.
head around and put it into context?
Of course. So there's 12 archetypes. And again, the way that you discover your archetype is you take this 10 to 15 minute assessment, depends on how long you take answering the questions. And I always suggest don't take a lot of time answering the questions. First answer, right answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that will give you, there's two archetypes. One's a signature, and that's the core of your brand, personal or business. And then there's the influencer. So you'll actually have two. And why we have two is one is too one-dimensional. So by having that influencing archetype, it gives your brand more color and depth and a little bit more sparkle than just having a one-dimension brand. And it also helps you to stand out in a crowded market. So that you have this little edge to you that goes with your brand.
So you have your overall persona maybe, and then you have the way you like to express it, kind of. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That was a great way to explain it. So I'm not doing these in any particular order of the 12. I'll just start because I have the cards here. And we have these beautiful cards.
Oh, yes. I love
so
it.
This is the nurturer. And so the nurturer, like as far as brands, this might be the best way to like kind of classify them, is Dr. Scholl's, Princess Diana, Dove Soap. And it's, a heart-centered, giving, trustworthy person.
Got it.
Humanitarian. Now, some of the brands there are Paul Newman, Rosa Parks, Humane Society, makes sense. And they're all about equality, belonging, and everyone matters. And then you have the Alchemist. Some of the brands are Harry Potter, transformation, Oil of Olay, Pandora, and Magical, Transformational, Intuitive.
Nice.
Innocent. And the Innocent, some of the brands are Chicken Soup for the Soul, Tom Hanks, and Ivory Soap, Purity, Trusting, and Wondrous. And you got Me, My Sage. And again, I told you TED Talks, Smithsonian, Wall Street Journal, and Clarity, Questioning, and Understanding. And my influencing is a hero. And that is Nike, Joan of Arc, Nelson Mandela. And then you have Courageous, Unwavering, Inspiring. You have Ruler. And Ruler is has like a luxury feel to it. So it's like Tiffany's, Mercedes-Benz, Chanel. And they're in charge, confident, and inspiring. You have the Romantic. And that's like Hallmark cards, Diva Chocolate, Dior. And they're sensual, sensatory, and intimate. Artist. Artist is like MAC Makeup, Etsy, Legos, Martha Stewart. And it's creative, imaginative, and nonconformist. You got the Maverick. Maverick is Harley Davidson, MTV, Madonna, game changers, disruptives, rule breakers. Everybody wants to be a Maverick.
I know, right?
Very few are. Explorer, REI, that makes sense, Jeep, Starbucks. And then you have ambitious, unique, and authentic. The last one is gesture. Like I said, Steve Martin, Ben and Jerry's, Saturday Night Live, fun, clever, lighthearted. So those are your 12.
Got it. So when you take this one test, you end up with 2 archetypes at the end.
Right. Your signature, which is your core, and then your influencer, which gives it that flavor.
Okay. So then we figure them out. We find them out. We work with this quiz and we get the archetypes, then how do you actually leverage the archetypes when you're either branding yourself or your company?
Yeah. So with archetypes, what it helps is with your content and your storytelling. So it's your messaging. So when you're, with any business now, we all have to write content. I mean, whether it's an email, it's on our website, it's a newsletter, posting on social media. And the brands that stand out are the brands that are true to their archetype. They don't waver from those archetypes. They stay with it. Like Steve Martin doesn't all of a sudden come on TV and acts like a Nelson Mandela. You know what I mean? We'd be confused. We'd go like, what? What? Yeah, I was waiting to get him make me laugh, right? Doesn't mean that he doesn't have that side of him, but as his brand, he has to be consistent so that we as humans, because we like to put everything in classifications in our brains. Like, oh, here's the funny guy, here's the grumpy guy. Like you were saying, we have these, our brain does that automatically. And those go with our archetypes. So with leveraging your brand, personal or business, one, by knowing your archetypes, you're going to have clear messaging because you're going to write like your archetype, not like everybody else, or try to, be a brand that you're not. It'll help the consumer on the other side to know that what brand it is and align with you and your brand and make that connection. It also, if the consistency will help as far as leveraging the brand. So consistent and then compelling. So your messaging should be compelling based on whatever product or service. The other part of this is that people actually don't want to buy a product and service. They want to connect to a human. And the archetypes are humans. So by using your archetype, you're helping them connect to you, like and trust you, and buy your product or service. Or if it's a personal branding, just, and you're on social media, someone can get you as opposed to being all over the place. Does that make sense?
Right. So then the nitty gritty way that you do this is the exact wording you use. What is that?
So like on these cards, there's all these words that go with a gesture. So it doesn't mean that those are the only words you can use, but by honing in on those and leaning on your archetype and utilizing those terms, again, the person that you're trying to communicate with will understand what archetype you are. And when you take the test, it's not like I'm telling you how to brand yourself. This is who you are, So it's just helping you figuring out what you already know, but you just never were able to put it in a structure, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, from personal experience, we had talked before I took my test, and you said, the test never fails. You can take it 4 times and you're going to get the same results. And I was like, psh, I can get a different result if I want to. I was so wrong.
That's funny.
I got the same result. It was pretty funny. I mean, I did it more for fun, just to see, like, all right, let's just try it. But yeah, very. And I even answered questions differently, but not so far differently that it was a complete falsehood. And I still got the same exact branding. And I did have a tie.
Right.
So for my primary and my influencer. So how do you break a tie?
So the way that you break a tie is I have you read the spiritual contract, which is this part here, which really describes what a true archetype is and what resonates with you the most. So say if it was Jester and Explorer, and I read these two and I'm like, oh, I'm totally the Jester. It's as easy as that. We know what it is. And it doesn't mean that you're not a little bit of Explorer, but I do say once you have your two, forget the rest, because again, going back to being consistent and keeping that archetype consistent and clear. And again, a confused mind says no. So the clearer you are about your messaging, the easier it is for your consumer to buy whatever it is that you're selling or service that you're offering.
Got it. So let me ask you this, because, everybody wants to be a hero, right? That I'm not one in your archetypes. So I know that I got definitions for all of the 12 cards when I took the test. is it possible to be really, really drawn to another archetype and really want to pull some of that in? Can you do that?
I don't advise it if that's not
Okay.
your archetype, because then what it is, it's kind of that again, when you see something like there's certain archetypes I love to work with, but I love to work with them because they're different, but they're not me.
Got it.
It's not that I should become them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You still want to align with your ideal client, but usually it's like your values and your beliefs. That ideal client will be attracted to you because of that. It doesn't mean that everything lines up perfectly with your ideal client. It's just that your ideal client will be attracted to your archetypes, beliefs, and values. So I tell a story of, I think I told it at the seminar that I did. I followed this writer. Her name is Ash Ambage. And I think I fell in love with her like 2 years ago. I just landed on one of her blogs or email and just caught my attention. She's super funny, and her writing's funny, witty, clever, sometimes shocking. And whatever she writes, I will wait. Like if it comes in my email, I make sure I read it, because I know what the promise of that brand is that she's going to entertain me. And like I say, if she was ever going to do a writing retreat, I would pay whatever amount of money and get there, even if I didn't know I could go, but I would pay for it to go. And the part about this that's so important is I could learn writing from anyone, but I don't want to learn from anyone. I want to learn from Ash, because that's the brand that I like, the promise of that experience. I know what I'm going to get. If I went to her retreat, I know I'm going to be entertained and learn how to write. So it's not just a one dimension. So, and I would guess that she's a jester and a sage, to tell you the truth, because I have never had her take a test, but maybe I'll send it to her. But so like, even, so that's personal branding. Like she knows when she's sending something out, it's consistently the same as far as entertaining, educational. I'm not reading and going all of a sudden like, who is this person? I know her personality. I feel like I know her based on just reading the stuff that she writes. And I've never met her, So I guess that kind of connects it. Like that's how you use your archetype. So it's consistent, compelling, clear, cohesive in your content.
So in layman's terms, you want to leverage your archetypes in your personal and business branding for the know, like, and trust factor. Is that
Definitely.
it? Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, because there's going to be certain people that will be attracted to you based on your archetype, which is, is you. Like if you go back to what Carl Jung said, you were born this way. It's not something that you're just picking pie in the sky.
Right.
The test just helps you to identify it and put a name to it. So yeah, definitely like trust factor comes into play with that. The other part, if you go to the opposite of that, you'll also attract. Is that a word? Detract? Not attract. Detract the people that really shouldn't be your clients. It'll help, sift them out.
That would make everybody's life better if you could just know the brand. Because I've worked with people where, like you said, let's say it was a promise of writing, right? It's a promise of writing. And they're lovely. They are still lovely people, even though I expected one thing from the emails and the website and the sales copy. But then I got another thing, and yeah, it was not on brand. So light bulb moment.
That's good.
Right. So then let's say I already have a company and I already think my branding is A1 top shelf. Can I still benefit from taking this test? Will it help me?
Yeah, it would. It will probably either come out exactly what you've been doing, or it might be a little off. So it would definitely not behoove you to not do it. I mean, why would you not? Why would you not want to know, make sure that the brand is as strong as you think it is? And as we all know in business, it's always evolving, it's always changing, it's always, work, it's always work to be done. We can always be better.
Right.
So I think I haven't had anyone take it, and I've had some people that have been in business for a long time, and them going, yeah, I've been doing all that.
Right. Right.
There's always there's always some light bulb that goes off. It might not need everything, but there's some little part that will help improve the company and their branding.
And what's
And
really
it might be that just they're doing it right everywhere, but they realized they weren't doing it right in one part of their, like, oh, in our social media, we're not being consistent like we are on our website and our email marketing.
Right. And I think if you can better understand yourself and your brand, and I know you said that, we're always evolving. I know for me personally, I think sometimes me, we kind of whitewash a little bit just to make sure nobody says, oh my God, or nobody says, really? Or, you just don't want to really put yourself out there as whatever you really, really, really are. And I think for me, the branding with architects would even if I had archetypes, even if I had a full blown company for 10 years, it would probably be somewhere where I was not comfortable going for it and expressing myself and my brand.
Right. And it helps you differentiate yourself from the competitors because you have the two. And, it's the companies that put a line in the sand that we're drawn to. It's not the ones that are just muddled and, vanilla. Right. We like the ones that, like, we know what they stand for. We know what their values are. And those are the ones we connect with. So it's about identity as well. Like how you identify yourself. So the brands and the products and the things that you buy yourself personally, that's your identity. So like I belong to the McLean Institute of Coaching from Harvard, and they have a newsletter, and I pay the dues. And do I look at the newsletter? No. Do I watch the videos? No. And I'm like, oh, I probably should stop paying that. And then when I think about it, I'm like, no, because I identify with that organization. I'm from Boston. I worked in Harvard Square. And it's a very credible organization, and I really identify with it. So I wouldn't stop paying money. So if it was a vanilla company that I didn't really identify with, I would, cancel today.
Right.
So you have to think about that too. You have to think about where your line in the sand is, and you don't want to hide that. You don't want to hide that because people aren't attracted to not, model. They're attracted to.
Like I did. I thought I was buying one thing. Maybe they weren't being perfectly, 100% transparent. And I got another thing and nobody was happy at the end. So.
Right.
Okay. So tell everybody how can we work with you?
Yeah. So if you go on my website, it's barbaramurphyshannon.com. Do you send something out as well?
Yes.
Okay. Because sometimes people will switch the name around. So it's barbaramurphyshannon.com. If you go right on my first page, you just scroll as you read about branding. There's a click, and you just give me your first name and email address, and then I send you the assessment. And it's a free assessment. It's 100% free. And then I'll send you the results with the PDF of the cards so you can read about your archetypes. And I always like to send them all because I know people like to read about other people's archetypes. Or, you'll be like, I know my husband's a jester, And then totally complimentary too is if you say have a tie or you want to talk about the results, I'll do a 20-minute consultation. We'll just set that up. I'll send you my calendar and you can book in there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also from your website, if I go to your website and I select connect, I get on your newsletter?
Yeah. So I send out a email and the emails go from anywhere from talking about business and branding to just everyday struggles that we all have, from imposter syndrome to not feeling confident enough, or how to talk to certain people, leadership. It's really anything that I think, business or personal, that we all, the challenges we all face. And sometimes it's just nice to read about it and maybe get some tips and tricks on what you can do next time to improve. We all want to be better. We're all looking for self-improvement. And so the emails, that's what those are all about. And then I do have another program coming up too, a group program, and it's called Elevate in 2022. And it's the goal planning course that you'll love. It's the best goal planning course ever. And that's a Zoom virtual training. It's going to be in November. It's over the course of 5 weeks, but it's just 1 hour for each week. I teach a strategy, and you get a workbook and everything. I teach a strategy, and then you have the whole week to work on that strategy, and then we come back. And it's great because we're all on Zoom together and everybody helps each other, everybody's sharing. Someone might have a challenge, and then other folks will help, give them what worked for them. So it's a great group. And everybody's been at different places. I've had where someone's starting a business, someone's in their business, someone either runs a company, they're head up a certain department, to someone that didn't have a job at all, but just wanted to just kind of have more structure in their life.
That's cool. Well, I'm signing up.
Yeah.
Save me a spot.
You got it. Yeah, so that will be November. I'm just starting to put out the promotional emails and information on that. And if you go on my website, it does say Elevate in 2022 up at the top right, and says get on the wait list once you click on that. So just click get on the wait list, and then you'll get all the promos and information.
Awesome. As soon as I get off of this call, that's what we're going to do. And then so that's a new program. The goal planning is a new program. I'm sorry, Elevate in 2022 goal planning is a new program. So what about your other offers that you have?
Yeah, so if someone wants to work with me one-on-one, I have different coaching programs. And that can be anywhere from branding to growth strategy to, I have one client that I just have a monthly session with to review everything that's happening with their company and what can they do better. It's that whole thing, you don't know what you don't know. And so I feel I'm always like a couple steps ahead of my clients and whatever that part of their business that they're trying to achieve, whether it's writing an email sequence, having a funnel, or just having the copy be correct for their archetype on their website. Because a lot of times what happens, you take the test, and if you have a website, then you realize your website copy is not correct. And then that can be sometimes so daunting, like, oh my God, write this all over. And that's where I'm like, I'll do the rewrites. I know your archetype, I can write it for you.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's mostly business. I don't do just pure life coaching anymore, but every entrepreneur that I work with usually has some need for some life coaching, because you can't have the business without a life. It means they go hand to hand together. So it might be that one thing that's holding you back from launching a program, or maybe cold calling a certain client that you really want to work with, or trying to get a new account. Those are just the normal struggles that we all have. And as a coach, I have a coach, and every coach has a coach.
Right.
Yeah, because it's really hard to coach yourself.
Yeah, and it's really hard to know what you don't know.
Right. Or I was talking to a potential client today, and I was saying, I have a coach, of course, coach. I go, it's hard to coach yourself, and also it's hard to sometimes challenge yourself with the way my coach would challenge me. Like he'll flat out say, well, why won't you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm scared. He goes, what can we do to get you to do that? I'm like, all right. So then, and there's that accountability part, and if I knew coaching was around when I was growing up, or even when I had my kids when they were little, because just the way that coaching works so wonderfully that it becomes your idea, you initiate the move, you get it done, as opposed to, I don't know how you were brought up. I was brought up, everybody told me what to do, but they didn't know any better. That's how they were brought up, as parenting. They were just like, no, just do it. Like, all right.
Do it because I said so.
Yeah, exactly. And I did the same thing until I, went to school. And I do have a graduate certificate in life coaching as well from GCU. I did that simultaneously with my master's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I am so excited, Barbara. I am so excited to work with you. Hey, everybody, I'm going to be working with Barbara, just to let you know.
Yay!
Absolutely. Well, Barbara, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. And I treasure all the insights and the wisdom that you've already given to us. And I know that this has been so very informative for us all.
Awesome. Yeah. And if anyone has questions, like if you're like, I don't know if I want to take the archetype, or I don't know what your challenges, can I help it? Reach out to me. My email is barbara@barbaramurphyshannon.com. If I can't help you, if I'm not the right person, I probably have some, colleagues that probably can. So, I do my best for you.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
And for everyone watching, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Happiness Retreat. We hope you have gotten some inspiration, some motivation, some guidance, and some clarity in your connection with your own soul and being the master of your own energy. Thank you again, Barbara. And until next time.
Thank you.